Hi, this is S.G. Brownlow. This week I'd like to talk a little bit about how shame and sadness really help us meet our needs for connection. Now, we all have these needs for connection, but what happens is that human relationships are just flaky because people are flaky. And if we depend on other people to meet our needs for connection, they're going to flake out, or we're going to flake out, and that happens inevitably. So when we're in these relationships with people and the connection gets a little frayed, but it's because of something that happens at the other end. The other person moves, they get sick, they die, they're unavailable, then we feel sad. Now, if the connection phrase at our end, if it's something that we did, if we did something but we can fix it, then we feel guilty because somehow we were responsible for fraying that connection. Or if it phrased at our end and we think it's totally our fault, it's something that we are, it's just the kind of person that we are that caused the connection to fray, then we feel ashamed. And so that's really what shame and sadness tell us. It tells us that we have this need for connection that's not being met and what we need to do about it. So what sadness tells us is that the dropped connection was at the other end. And it maybe has something to do at that point with our expectations. We expect the person to come through and they can't anymore. We've depended on them, but now they've died. Now they've gotten sick. Now they've moved away. And so it's time for us then to readjust our expectations. We have to readjust our life and move on and get our connections met in a different way. Or it could be that it happens at our end and we feel guilty or we feel ashamed. And if we feel guilty, then what that guilt is telling us is that we need to do something to make things right with that other person. If we just hang on to feeling guilty, but don't ever do anything to make it right with the other person, then basically we're not taking responsibility. We're not using the lesson that guilt was giving us to strengthen that relationship. And likewise, if we feel ashamed of ourselves, but we don't realize that what that's telling us is that somehow we need to examine that to see whether it's truthful, whether we are actually out of alignment with what society would expect from us and what we need to do to be good members of the community and have and deserve those kinds of relationships with other people that we really crave. If we don't take that into account and start moving ourselves to be that kind of person, then we haven't learned what shame was trying to teach us. On the other hand, shame can become very toxic. We can be treated contemptuously, for instance, or abusively, and become very ashamed of ourselves and keep that secret. And of course, then we don't ever grow. But those are things that need to be examined. Again, when we look at that and examine that shame to see, is this really me? Is this something about me? Or is this some expectation somebody else had of us, that they were trying to get us to do something that was really against our better interest, but it somehow was there for them to get what they wanted, not really what they needed, but what they wanted from us. Then we can know what the shame is about, and we can make decisions accordingly to either give up on that relationship, to set an assertive limit about what we're willing to tolerate in that relationship, or to try to change ourselves to match the relationship if it's a legitimate shame. So that's just a little bit. Those are some almost random kind of thoughts about shame and sadness and guilt, and how they really do help us figure out what's going on to help us meet our needs for relationship and connection with other people. So I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, let me know. Give me a response. Email me or respond below the video. Share this video with other people. I like social shares, and just I'm really glad that you're watching this, and I'll see you next time.